Welcome everybody to E.P.I.C Experts Interviews. I'm Lori Gambacorta.
And I'm Lisa Byrne with E.P.I.C, Empowering People, Inspiring Community. And our special guest today is Ryan Borchers with Lighthouse Construction. Ryan's been a builder for 25 years. He uses intentional building practices to build your dream home. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
So can you give us a brief description of what it is you do? And I love the symbolism of your business name. So maybe tell us a little bit about that too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so, primarily what we do is single family residential construction. So, just a family home. Typically, they're custom builds, and we like to involve the clients a lot within the process, all the way from the design through the build. And ideally, we use as many, green building material products as we can, depending on budget and also materials that are available to us. So, and then we do other small projects too to fill in. But often we're building, 3 to 4 homes a year throughout Southwest Colorado. And then you asked about Lighthouse Construction. Where did Lighthouse come from? It came to me, I was thinking about business names a few years ago. I've been doing construction for a lot of years, but we incorporated a few years ago and was really thinking about a trade name or a name that would be fitting for what we try to do in our building practices. And that's what came up. I was probably hiking or something, and all of a sudden it just dawned on me. I was like, why not Lighthouse? I love lighthouses. I grew up in the Northwest and, near the coast, and always loved those types of buildings, but it's more about bringing light, light energy into the actual process, into people's homes. So that's where the name kind of originated, and it's stuck. It's pretty catchy out here, 1,000 miles from any coastline, because people are like, really?
That's awesome. Well, you just talked a little bit about your products and services. Can you also let everyone know what some of the influences are that got you involved and started in your business? And also, how did you get into the whole mindset about bringing intentional building practices to your business and to your clients?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to that question, but let me start with carpentry. So the basics. When I was a little kid, I loved playing with my great grandfather's hand tools that were handed down to eventually my father, and then I kind of just dug through them in the old garage or whatever old shop that we had. And my dad wasn't really a carpenter, but I for some reason gravitated toward these things, and I mean it was probably at 5, 6 years old or something, and I would just find scrap like wood materials all around the property and start building things. And so I had kind of an innate, I guess, propensity and desire to really just work with hand tools and work with tools. And I loved working with wood, and grew through that through wood shop, in my school experience, and then started just building kind of in the summers from college, and then it just grew from there really. And I would say that as far as like bringing in intentional building practices, that's probably the most important part of my life, is to be connected to kind of my divine self, and to connect with other people in their their divinity. And so to just integrate the two made sense for me. And I think I asked the question just a few years ago, like, why does construction have to be kind of rough and tumble all the time? And we have to be sometimes, because it is, it's intense out there. We have to lift heavy things. It can be dangerous. We're up on high things, so we need focus, and that kind of energy. But it doesn't have to be like that all the time. There's a whole process to building where people are bringing like the really kind of their heart and soul and their like creativity, even the clients are, of like their dreams. And how do we hold that, you know? And when I'm holding the project as a builder, it seems awfully important to me, and it did years ago when I started really becoming conscious of what we were doing here, is that the majority of time that people spend is in their homes. And so what is the energy that we're leaving behind or that we're building into the project or into the house? And so that's where the intentionality seemed to really start to make sense and start to integrate into our building practices. And so for me personally, I have a really strong kind of spiritual meditative practice where I connect with the divine or with God, the Tao, whatever, you know, somebody wants to call it. And it's super important to me. So that's like probably the most important part of my life. And so I was like, well, can I bring that in a way that's not so esoteric or difficult maybe for some people to talk that way? So can I integrate that in a way that's just common language, common practices? Do we even need to talk about it really that much? Can we just use simple language like, you know, well, we want to make sure that you feel really good in your home when we leave. We want to make sure that everyone that's working on the job site is being respectful and responsible and caring about you and your project. So that's kind of where we can start, you know, is just keep it really simple. But on our crews, you know, the guys that we have working with us are like-minded and like-spirited, I would say, very conscious guys, and yet hardworking. And so we'll maybe have more conversations around lunch or whatever when we're, you know, about intentionality or after work and things. But we definitely, you know, have learned how to integrate that into our building process, I guess. So.
That's wonderful. And I think anyone can tell, you know, when you go into a space, whether it's someone's home or business, that there has been thought and intention and you know, all of those kinds of things really put into that space, versus going somewhere and just being like, you know, this doesn't feel quite as peaceful or as welcoming, you know. So that's awesome that you guys do that. And just a follow-up to that, I wonder too, do you notice that the variety of materials you use, the type of wood or something like that, have a different kind of spirit or feel that they bring to that home? And do you know, work with the client, maybe they love a particular type of wood and so you try to incorporate that?
Sure, absolutely. I do. You know, I'm a really sensitive person, and so I do feel the differences of the building products and materials that get used. Some of them come right through the factory and have glues in them, and we just, you know, that's what we get to use. I do think though, when we can use more natural products, you know, anything that's closer to the source of nature and even closer to home, and you know, the people who have touched it, you know, have worked on it, what their intentions have been around it, you know, you can feel that stuff in the materials. And so I do believe, you know, and that's, I don't want to exclude kind of where we're at in our world. Our current situation is that we do have to kind of work with what we've got. You know, when I go to the hardware store, I can't ask for the most loving products. I go to the hardware store and I say, okay, I need some nuts and bolts here, and I need this and that. But we, you know, we try to incorporate as much of that as we can into our builds. And if we have clients who are really sensitive, and I would say a good percentage of our clients are, because they find us and kind of understand what we're talking about right here, and they definitely have things that they felt in the past. They've been like, if they want a stone countertop, a certain type of stone, that they really, it elicits a heart response or a feeling in them and we'll definitely incorporate those things, and we make sure that we put the time in and the care to ensure that they get, you know, most of the things that they want. And if they can't, we'll try to find alternatives, you know, that do fit. So does that kind of answer your question? We could go into that for a long time. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great, I think, for the client to, you know, have something near and dear to them, that you will intentionally incorporate into that design of the home, and that, you know, like you just said, you know, bolts and screws, you can still put love into those, but we have to use what we have to use. So that's great.
cool.
You said that clients tend to find you. Do you ever find yourself in a situation though where you're having to kind of educate your clients and try to explain the amount of presence and spirituality that you're bringing to the work that you do?
You know, sometimes it's that way, and sometimes it's they're educating me. So I think that's what life is, you know, like, um I'm getting educated constantly, and if I stay in that curiosity, um I seem to be able, you know, since I'm holding the site or the space, like that's kind of my role as a general contractor and a builder. um if I hold that curiosity, then other people start to follow that kind of lead, I think. If when I shut down, and I mean, I'm human, I make mistakes, I can get grouchy, like all those things can happen. If I do that, then I watch the whole site start to break down. Um, and then I have to look at me first, you know, like the responsibility starts with me. And if I find the fault there, then that's where I start. And then start to clean it up here. Um, and then start to move back into that space of curiosity, of conscious intention, and watch kind of the site and the clients and everyone kind of start to follow that lead. So everyone around me is kind of an indicator, if you will, of how well, like, I'm doing at my job, you know, basically. So, and then but there are, every once in a while, there are times where I feel like I need to be an interruption for, like, maybe something that's going on, a pattern, or something that's basically breaking the harmony, you know, on the project. And it can come from the clients, it can come from, you know, employees, it can come from subcontractors, it can come from suppliers, all kinds of things, you know. um, and so I'll go and talk to people, you know, and let them know kind of what we're trying to do, reset the intention, you know, remember this is what we're up to, and, you know, and that seems to be enough, you know. But that's very rare that has to happen. So does that kind of answer your question? Did I get in there a little bit? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I was still muted. How do you take the opportunity to connect and inform your clients about your business, and, you know, like, where can they see more about you and learn what you're up to?
Well, most of it is word of mouth. We've been really busy the last few years, but we are starting to get openings. And maybe that's kind of the current, you know, paradigm that we're all living under, the uncertainty of economic times and what the future might hold. But Epic Magazine's a good place to find us. And then I would say, you know, um, you can go to our website, lighthousebuild.com. And you can also, you know, give us a ring, which is 970-749-7267. So those are ways you can contact us. But you might just see us, you know, our trailer, our construction trailer with signs on it, you know, parked around. Or if you just ask about Lighthouse construction, you know, around the community, most people know who we are, I would think. So at this point.
And so, speaking of the future, let's fast forward maybe 10, 20 years, and you're looking back at your life and your career. What is it that you hope your greatest contribution has been to the community or to humanity in general?
Yeah. No, no, of course, leaving like a legacy of buildings that last, structures that last for many, many years, and people or families find joy in for generations to come would be great. But more importantly to me is like, did I live, I guess, clearly, with a lot of heart, a lot of clarity, and leave joy in the world, and really kind of the basic things that I think we all really appreciate, as human beings. Was I a contributor, I guess, in that way? Did I leave the world in a better place? Did I leave it, in a place of harmony? I don't necessarily need people to remember me, but I would like whatever energies that have been good, that represent the divine, like, to be left behind and continue to be carried on by others that maybe found value in our interactions. So
That is really beautiful. And I just want to say thank you for joining us and giving our watchers, readers, listeners an opportunity to get to know you better. It really has been a joy just to hear you speak and to find kindred spirits who bring so much love and so much presence and so much intention to their work and their life.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love that you're out in nature, because that's where you work and that's what you bring in to people's homes. So it's great to be doing this interview from this space. We're going to ask another question or two. And so the opposite of what you just said, instead of looking forward, if you could give your younger self some advice, what would you do if you could go back in time and tell yourself some things?
probably, if it were summed up in one word, I would probably tell him, breathe. Just breathe. Like, take a deep breath, and really, I'm finding so much, like, some of these practices of patience, and really remembering that, like, that God is always there, like, and love is always there. It's whether I choose into it or not, whether I decide to tap into it. And I think over those period of years between me being a younger man and where I'm at today, I chose often to get caught up in a lot of drama and different things that I'd rather have wished I hadn't. I wished I had remembered the simple things, like just breathe and remember that, God's always right there. So.
Do you have any favorite projects that you've worked on that you maybe want to share?
Oh, sure. Let's see. One that we finished a couple of years ago now, well, maybe a year and a half ago, was Fozzie's Farm from Montezuma Land Conservancy. It was a classroom space. Montezuma Land Conservancy is a land trust here locally that basically puts larger acreages under conservation so they won't be developed on. I mean, that's essentially what it is. And they had an opportunity through some grant funding to build a classroom space with a teacher apartment living quarters above. And so we got to build that. And I'll tell you, like, the feeling of that contribution and getting the reflections back from the people that were in the space and just saying, this place feels so good. And they were so excited, the board members who helped make that happen, the directors of Montezuma Land Conservancy, and then seeing the youth going out there and participating in some of the programming, some of the education programs, and seeing them utilize the space. And I had an opportunity to watch a couple of those programs take place in what we built. It was very satisfying. That's what I'll say. And I'll put a big, plug out for Montezuma Land Conservancy as well. As if you get a chance, go visit that space, go find out what they're about. Really a wonderful organization, and what they're up to is top notch. So.
Well, thank you for that, and we will check it out, and we hope that the listeners also check it out.
And Ryan, can you give anybody that's interested in, potentially considering building a house, just a few tips of, where they should start? It's a large undertaking, and I think sometimes people think, oh, it's just going to be easy. This is what I'm going to do. But, could you give them like a few steps on what that thinking process could be, and what they can maybe, do to help them move through the process?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things is, if you're doing this with your partner or significant other, is get on the same page, from the very get-go, and hold, work those details of any kind of discord or disharmony out, and get into a space of collective intention. So, and that's powerful, like that then starts to like hold, I think, the entire project in a place where, harmony and really it's, you're going to get the things that you want accomplished. The right people are going to show up then into your space. You're going to find the right solutions when problems occur. Like it'll run smooth. So that's the first thing I would suggest. Then I would suggest, coming up with a good design, that really fits, maybe listing out all of the things that are really important to you in a space. Like what does it mean to you to live in a quality space? And then of course, I would also really consider the financial side of it. That is probably the number one thing that stresses people out during the construction process, is the cost. It's your greatest investment. It's probably your largest investment of your life, in most cases for people. And so feeling really confident about the construction process, about how much it's going to cost, but also really being realistic about the cost, and then making sure you're set up, like whatever your personal finances are, making sure that you got all your ducks in a row and you're ready to go. And then that's not like the big stressor. The big stressor is like, oh, it's muddy and raining outside, and how are we gonna, get that foundation in? Not like, how are we gonna pay for it? So I think those are kind of, the important parts. And then finding a builder, that really fits with you, that resonates with you, because you're going to be in relationship with that person for months, in that. And building can be a stressful environment and event. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of coordination. And if you're with somebody that you really trust, and that you're confident in their skills, and, that they're looking out for your interests, then you're going to relax as a client a lot more. And the building process could actually be a lot of fun. We actually laugh a lot, with our clients, and we have a good time. So, that's where I think people want to get to. And those are a few kind of just general pointers I would give out.
Amazing. Thank you for those. Laura, you have any other questions for Ryan?
Well, I think we could go on and on, because this is just such an enjoyable interaction, and it's been really great to listen to you. It sounds like there is a forthcoming article in there for E.P.I.C somewhere on many of the things that we've talked about. So I just want to thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you both. Thanks for having E.P.I.C in our community. It's a wonderful magazine, and I'm grateful that you guys are here as well. So
we're aspiring to be a lighthouse like you. So
yeah.
Well, we want to thank Ryan again for being on the show. And if you want more information, you can visit E.P.I.C, Empowering People, Inspiring Community, at epicmag.org. And Ryan, please give everyone again your website. It's lighthousebuild.com. And however else they can get in touch with you.
Sure, you can give me a call at 749-7267.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Ryan.
Bye, ladies.